When you're feeling bothered, you have some sort of resistance, right, towards something. There isn't flow, right? When you want something to work out a certain way, you really want something to be like this, or a certain event or circumstance didn't pan out the way you wanted it, the way you were expecting it. All of a sudden, you are bothered by it. You have resistance towards that scenario, right? So how do you stay in a state of unbothered, right? How do you just not care about things? How do things not affect you in the ways that they used to, right? Because now we're focusing on becoming a better person. We're focused on fixing this within ourselves, right? So it is the same thing as saying resistance. So how do we eliminate resistance towards things? You do it by painting a frame within your mind, by changing your perspective on things, okay? So if things didn't work out a certain way and you feel bothered by it, you take the second to step back and tell yourself, okay, cool, this didn't work out for me this way. I think that it was supposed to work out this way or this other way, right? But in reality, it could end up being much better for you, right? So always have that perspective, always have that expectation, is that when things, no matter how things work out, it's always going to be the best for you, okay? That is a very simple way to do it, right? So how do we actually go about doing it? First thing is the mental awareness, right? So being aware when you're in that bothered state, when things are bothering you left and right. Awesome. That's step one. Step two would be to start to paint the perspective that you do desire and reframe your mind into believing things a certain way. So if, like I said, X, Y, and Z didn't work out the way you were expecting X to produce Y, and it produced Z instead, maybe Z is better for you. Maybe Z ends up being better for you. If you have that perspective, if you have that mental frame, things are going to tend to work out more in your favor. You're going to start to see things that work out the way you were expecting it, and then when they didn't work out the way you're expecting it, if you remain in that unbothered state, it's going to end up being better for you. The second that something doesn't work out the way you wanted it to, and you've got that resistance, you're bothered by it, you are then creating the opportunity, or you're planting the seed per se, right, for that circumstance to not be in your best favor. I know it's like a mental, it's kind of like hard to grasp that, but hopefully you're understanding, right? So when you have certain circumstances that didn't work out the way you wanted them to work out, as long as you remain in that unbothered state, as long as you don't create that resistance, right? Because all that resistance that you feel is created from within you. As long as you don't create that resistance, then things are going to tend to end up being best for you no matter what ended up happening. And you will also in turn start to think and expect things that were automatically going to be best for you, and then they end up happening the way you were expecting them to happen. So from the point that we're at now, where you're bothered by a bunch of things, right? Hopefully you're not, but let's just say, worst case scenario, you're constantly bothered by a lot of things on your day-to-day basis. The fact that you're watching this video, you're at least aware of the fact that you are bothered by these things. Step one is the awareness. Cool, now we can move on to reframing and reshaping your mind. The resistance, you can almost fall in love with the resistance, fall in love with the experience of life, right? So there's going to be ups and downs. Things don't always work out the way you're expecting them to be. Just love that. Love the experience of that. See what I mean? Don't be so attached to your resistance. By doing these things, that resistance will have no power over you, and you will be in that unbothered state more often, eventually, perpetually. Things just won't faze you. And when you're in that state, life flows so much more easily and effortlessly, and the things that you do want to manifest, the things that you are bringing into your reality, they can come a lot easier. They can come a lot easier. They can come a lot smoother, a lot faster. Okay, so reframe that mental perspective. If something didn't work out or isn't going to, like you already see that it's not going to work out the way you were expecting it to, maybe it ends up being best for you. Have you thought of that, right? Like sometimes you're so fixated on something and you don't realize, well, maybe this other opportunity could be a lot better for you. But maybe you feel that, no, it's just like you feel it in your gut, right? You got that gut feeling like, no, this isn't for me, or no, it should have been this way, it should have been this way. all that resistance you are creating. You are putting yourself through that, lack of a better term, right, mental torture. You can choose to reframe that. You can choose to paint the perspective you do desire. Becoming in a state of unbotheredness where you're just unfazed by it. There is work that you need to put into it. And the work you need to put into it is the work on yourself. You need to kind of like tell yourself how to think, tell yourself how to feel, tell yourself how to, operate, I guess. You can program yourself to be unbothered. How do you do that? I already went over that, right? Step 1, step 2, and step 3 is the process, because you're not always it's not like a flip of the switch, all of a sudden you're unbothered by things. It's like things slowly start to bother you less and less, to the point where you know that no matter what happens, like you truly believe that no matter what happens, it is best for me. It goes in line with my vision. And then this doesn't bother me that much. This doesn't bother you. That doesn't bother you, etc., right? So hopefully you guys can remain in an unbothered state. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please drop a like on the video, comment down below, subscribe with your post notifications turned on, and if you want one-on-one mentorship with me, you can sign up through the Patreon link in the description below. We'll see you next time.